Hello, everybody. I'm Chris.
I'm Brig.
And welcome to the webcast.
Yep.
Today we're going over a much requested, awesome feature.
So awesome.
Yeah, so Laps is what we're going over today. It's a wonderful Microsoft product that has been released a few years ago to help manage your local administrators' accounts. So
it's local administrator password solution.
Something like that.
Yep.
I never remember acronyms.
I don't either.
It's Laps.
It's Laps.
So, on that note, we do have a lot of stuff to cover today. Let's just jump right into it.
Yeah.
So, cool.
All right.
Awesome.
Okay. So we have in the bonus content, I believe, if I am correct, we have a KB that we've written on how to use inventory with Laps. But first, what we're actually going to show you is how to install Laps into your environment. And we're going to do that two ways. There's the Microsoft way, and then there's the Chris way. Both ways are actually Microsoft ways, but Chris has got the easy way, and this is kind of more of the traditional method. So what you do is you go down, you just look up Microsoft Laps, and it'll have the download. It's one of the first things out there.
It's also in our bonus content.
Yep, we've got a link there. And what it installs is actually these, or not installs, but what you download are these things right here, those 4 things. So, or actually 5 things, sorry.
4 plus 1.
Yeah, 4 plus 1. What you're going to need to do, just as a general overview, is install the MSI on a management machine, which we've done, and then you install this throughout your organization.
Hey, forgive my squirrely ignorance, guys, but on a management machine, are we talking like a DC or?
I would never recommend installing this on a DC, simply because I don't like installing anything on DCs. I would choose like your PDQ admin machine or just your everyday workstation to be the management machine, because it doesn't really manage Laps. It basically just allows you to interact with Laps.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's actually managed by GPO and Active Directory.
But on that note, though, these MSIs do include the administrative templates with which to push out that GPO. So you will need to get those on your DC at some point. So.
Yep, and we will show you how to do that. All right, so basically what I'm going to do is this is going to be our management machine. So we're doing this live, so wish us luck.
Cross fingers. Hope for our destruction. I don't know.
Dude, you just cursed it.
Oh, did we already put this on here?
I think I accidentally ran it once.
Okay, let's change.
See.
Okay, it looks like good. We got the flat client.
Oh, yeah, because I was installing the PowerShell module.
Yes. Oh, that's right. We had to install that. Okay, so we're not going to worry about the GPO editor templates because we don't have any RSAT tools on here. The GPO extension here, this is actually necessary for the management machine. So we are going to install that here. So this is typically what you would do on your management machine, is install these items here. I'm going to change.
Oh my gosh, it's so fast. Yeah, it's good. It's a pretty small download.
Yeah.
So.
And Microsoft has done an excellent job with Laps. They've done a really good job of this is a pretty solid product here. And they've got really great documentation as well. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to, now that we've installed that on the management machine, we're going to go ahead and, well, there's a couple of steps that you need to do. You're going to want to remove extended rights in ADSI Edit, and ADSI Edit really is the best place to do this.
It is.
Yep, so you want it's pretty basic on that, and the instructions are pretty clear. We don't need to do that because if you've got a default setup, those extended rights only exist on domain admins as it is, so you should be okay.
It's true. And if you have any questions about doing this the way that Brig's going through, this operations guide really walks you through step by step the entire process from what we just did now, which was installing the MSI by hand, and all the way to the cool stuff, which is synonymous for PowerShell.
Yes.
So.
And actually, there's a lot of PowerShell, and then of course there's your PowerShell, which is even better. All right, so then all we really need to do after we've done that and remove the extended rights on that is we import the module, the PowerShell module. And do you kind of want to show them the PowerShell stuff?
I do.
Okay.
Should we switch?
Right. Yes.
Cool. So just kind of before we dive into this a little bit, just for those, if you know what Laps is when you're coming into this webcast, that's great, fantastic. Maybe you have it configured. If you don't, really what it is, it's about having a local administrator account on all your domain-connected machines that has a random generated password that's on our schedule that rotates. And so that this makes it so that if you have one of your machines, their local account get compromised, you're not compromising your entire fleet of machines.
And that's an important thing to remember, is that the password itself is actually controlled by the machine. It is not controlled in a central anywhere. It's controlled by the machine.
So when you say controlled by the machine, it is like the machine that you just installed that on is controlling it at that point?
Yep, basically, yes. So it controls the password. So that password is generated by the machine, each individual machine. So there's no, so even though you're using like something like Laps admin as your user, that password is different on each machine.
Yes.
So it's okay. You've got laps installed. I've got laps installed. The passwords are going to be different.
Always.
Totally different.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. I
Yep.
love the security.
And this is a really good question. In fact, I was going to save this for later, but this is a good time to address this. Laps, when you install this MSI, it installs a client side extension for group policy. What that means is that it does all its logic locally on this machine before it reports back to your domain controllers and to Active Directory. So what happens is when there is a request for a password change because of an expired password, what will happen is it'll actually set that password locally on this machine and then tell Active Directory what has happened. Here's my new password.
Yep.
So it doesn't get actually managed by Active Directory itself. It gets managed locally on each machine and then published to Active Directory.
This might be a good time to bring up, how is that password stored in Active Directory?
Clear text. Scary? Scary? No?
Yeah, I could make a diamond right now. Something puckered. So
Yeah, so that most of you probably did the same thing. Like, we're not on clear text. There's like just a thing flag in your mind that says, oh my goodness, clear text, what's wrong with you? Well, nothing. Active Directory is managed from ACLs. We're talking about control lists here. So if you have the rights to be able to read a password, you can do this. So let's just dive on in. Do we have a question before we do get started, though? I don't want to... Okay. Awesome. So we're going to go with this PowerShell we have up right here. I have broken down into 4 steps. This is in the bonus content, so you can actually just run this. Essentially, each one of these scripts includes the import of the module for managing labs, but you don't need that for every single script if you've already imported it for the session. But essentially, Laps extends the schema with 2 attributes, 2 new attributes. So there's a wonderfully complex command, note my sarcasm, called update, add in password, add in schema.
Do we want to just run this?
Should we do it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so we're going to do this on this computer. Let's find out what happens. Run this script, or F5. Done. Look how fast that was.
Yep.
It just added those 2 attributes. Those are the attributes that store the password in clear text, as well as the expiration date for the password. So, that's it.
Yep.
Step 2. So, now that we have created those fields, we actually need to verify who has rights to read that password. Right?
Yep.
That's what Brig brought up earlier, which is the extended rights. You can verify that based off this commandlet called find admin password extended rights, and then you specify the OU that you target for when we're setting up laps here. Since we have not deployed this to any on the web.
We actually don't even need to worry about this. I already checked the
Yeah.
extended rights in ADSI edit,
Yep.
so we're good.
So we can do that. If you're familiar or not, let us know. We can walk you through it, but it's
Yep.
in the documentation for laps. It really is super easy. In fact, I'm going to pull that up real quick here, just to show you.
Yeah.
What it would look like. You scroll down a little ways. I know this is exciting to watch live.
So you're basically saying Chris can read.
Yes, sometimes. As long as it has to do with me, and it promotes PowerShell or corgis and their rights thereof. So,
Do corgis have rights?
not as many as humans, but they do.
Okay.
But they have extended rights in
No,
ADSI.
I guess what I should...
Their legs aren't extended. Anyway.
But their bodies are.
Yes, chunky little corn dogs. So, removing extended rights, there's actually a section about that entire here, opening ADSI edit, how to do that, because those rights are what give people, user accounts, the ability to read the password. So you do want to keep a good lock on that.
So I just, ADSI, every time you say that, again, I have a little pucker here, because if you do that wrong, bad stuff is going to
Agreed.
happen.
Yes.
Hands down, be careful.
Yes.
It's a dangerous
Be
thing
very cautious.
because it's powerful.
Yeah. You do something wrong in ADSI edit and suddenly,
Stuff blows up.
Yep. Bad.
Yep, bad. So, when you run this, you can find out who has rights, and then you can go remove them.
Yep.
You can do it in PowerShell, but it gets a little more complex, and so I'd save that for maybe a PowerShell webcast or blog or something, perhaps in the future. So, step 3, now that we've removed rights, we need to basically add the rights for the machine. Remember, now, Laps runs locally on your machines inside your domain, so it needs to have the ability to update that in Active Directory. That's what this command does. It says, this computer has the rights in this particular OU to give my password updates. So,
We can actually change that OU to web_computers.
sweet. Web_computers. So, here we go, live. We love this.
Yep.
We're gonna run this. Boop. Updated.
Delegated.
See,
Yay.
there we go. This computer object, or excuse me, all computer objects that are in that OU now have the ability to properly talk to us and give us their passwords, because that's what we do, because we're control freaks.
Boo!
Yeah,
That's the noise when it runs right. Boo!
Yes, and when you do it a lot of times, it sounds more like the Death Star and the boo. Yeah. Anyway, so do we have a question?
Okay.
Dearest Brig and Chris, is there a way to customize laps to only apply to certain OUs within AD? Sincerely, Mary M.
That is exactly what we just did.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Thanks for the question.
Yes.
Answered preemptively.
Yep. And if you're using the manual method and you actually do the group policy, you can obviously just drag the policy, the lapse policy, and we'll show you that in a minute.
Yeah.
But you can just drag that up to whatever OU you want.
Yep.
Yep.
But this is it. This is where you define that.
But it does need to match this. It does need to match the web computer, in this case, web computers, that
Yep.
OU. Yep.
You can specify as many as you need, as many OUs that you're going to manage.
Common delimited, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so at this point, you can also have different local admin accounts. So by default, here we're going off on tangent here, when you set up laps initially, it will use, without further customization, the local administrator account, the one with the well-known SID.
Yeah.
And so that's all fine and dandy if that's what you're using, but most places have that disabled by default and thus need to have a separate account created.
Yep.
In our environment, we created an admin called Laps Admin,
Yep.
which seemed delightfully creative and appropriate.
For this,
I like
for this,
it.
Yes.
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 Yet almost guessable.
I know.
So Brig, are you going to show us the GPO thing?
Yeah, I'll show that once we get through with the
Oh,
PowerShell.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm excited,
We got
man.
it.
I'm excited.
It's fine.
GPO is the good stuff.
We got a plan.
Yes, this is the setup, and then the reading from it, and then the GPO is how you enforce it. So
Yes.
it's just
And
good.
It's fun too.
It
It's
is.
fun.
So this is where you define those OUs that you're going to manage, and you can manage multiple OUs, and you can have multiple different admin accounts that you have on your different machines for whatever requirements you have. You just can only have one Laps account per machine. So just be aware. That's step 3. Now step 4 is giving those rights to users within your domain the ability to read specific accounts. Like in this one we did, what was that, web computers?
Yep.
I'm going to copy this, otherwise I'm probably going to fat finger and mistype this. So you can actually give rights to reset the password or rights to read the password or both. In this case, we'll do both. So the allowed principals is the users or groups that you want to have the ability to do this. So in this case,
Laps admins, I think.
Laps admins. Did we create a group called Laps admins?
I think so.
I don't know.
Do we have the DC open?
Possibly. Let's find out. Is this guy? Yes, it is. Not that Heineken. I'm good at clicking.
This is a reminder that we're live.
I had a lot of scotch. It's great. So, where do we want to go? If you were a user trying to figure this out.
What are we trying to figure out again? Oh yeah, the
Groups.
OUs. Active
Directory users and computers. Yeah, you guys are familiar with this. I'm just showing you. So
Sorry.
anyway, so here we go. We're going to dive down and see if we actually have that created. Good thing we're hello.
It might be a second.
Yep,
I'm doing things.
you are doing things.
Sorry. Oh,
Manage.
yeah. There we go.
Cracking me up, man.
Oh, I clicked on use domains and trusts. See, this is why
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
let me drive.
Oh.
Jeez,
Well,
what's wrong
there's
with
that.
me?
Okay.
So
Never mind. I won't go on the outside.
Yep.
There's
So
an arrow.
where would we have put this?
We would have put this probably in their users.
Users. Oh no, I think I saw it.
No, web admins.
I think so. Let's
Okay.
let's find out. Labs. We'll search. Search for groups. Oh, nope. Guess not. Users. This is great.
You were searching.
users.
You were
I think I saw
searching
this
in
last
web
time.
There we go,
shares,
there we go.
by the way.
There we go.
Labs admins.
Members, Labs admins. Yay!
Yay.
Us.
Us.
So anyway,
Cool.
we have a group called Labs admins.
Yep.
We just found that out live. It's wonderful. So
Like
we're
I knew it, but I just wasn't sure.
admins. So we're going to use that as the group, and you can specify multiple by separating them with a comma. And we do recommend that you use security groups rather than specific users because the management of specific users becomes terrible.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with something like this with
Yes.
Labs.
So in this case, we're going to give Laps admins group the ability to read the password and to write the password. So I'm going to run this. Yes. Hooray!
So while that's running, so you guys set this up on your machines, I set it up on my machine. You allow me the access to be able to go and do that.
Yep.
So I can see that. But what if I did it first and I didn't want you guys to be able to get in? Would I be in charge of that at that point?
If you set up Labs first,
So I install Laps.
Yes.
I get the setup. I think I answered my own question. It's a dumb question.
So it's
Let's just move on.
well, wait. Okay.
it controls itself.
It does? Okay.
Yeah, it does. Good.
All right.
So.
So
Good
it kicks back to Active Directory. But one thing to know, if you do this manually and you install, as part of our package, as a tangent here a little bit, when we install Laps, we have a package created to install it. There's a 64-bit version and a 32-bit version here. But we also add a third step to do a GP update. Two reasons.
Yes.
When you
Important.
first install Laps, you can specify as one of the parameters to create that user account that we're talking about here, Laps admin in this case. When it does that, from the time it's created to the time that you have your next update from group policy, that password is known to nobody. You can't use that account. It's set, randomized, and you're waiting. Once that update kicks off, this GP update, what will happen is that machine will say, oh, I have gone past my expiration. In this case, there's no expiration because it hasn't been set yet.
Yep.
And it'll say, I need to reset this. It'll reset it locally and kick that response back to Active Directory, and now they're kind of, as you will, in sync as per each update. So.
Question for you guys. Hey, everybody, this is Shane.
Hi, Shane.
Hi, Shane.
So you're talking about these client-side extensions that you can install.
Yes.
Yep.
Feel free to use PDQ Deploy. Thank you. Is there a minimum version of Active Directory, like 2008 R2, 2012, that these client-side extensions would not work if you go back too far?
Yes.
Well,
And it is 2008.
not R2, but 2008.
I believe it's 2008.
Yeah.
Yes. You can actually get this to kind of work around in XP, but don't. They actually have on Microsoft website the ability and the directions to do it for XP, but don't.
Still not supported.
Still not supported, but it is essentially Vista and the Server 2008 and higher is what's supported. Now, running the FAT client, which we'll show you how to do that in a sec here for pulling, actually requesting the password, that requires .NET 4, I believe. And that's the only requirement in that sense.
I think I still think it's somewhat humorous that you'll have organizations that spend so much money and time upgrading all of their operating system, their client operating systems. Hey, we are now minimum Windows 8.1, yet they're still running off a 2003 Active Directory.
Yeah, their force functional level is still at 2000. Not even R2, just R2003.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's very common.
Yep.
So. In any case, that's really all there is. That's how you set this up for Laps from PowerShell.
Yep.
I do have two more scripts in the bonus content. One is to read the password of a given computer and to reset the password for a given computer. That's really how simple it is from PowerShell. I want to know the computer password for a given computer here on web. We just barely installed it, so there's no computer on web to run this on. So, but it will give you a password. But something to be aware of is it gives you that password in what's called file time, I think. It's the I forget, whatever. It has to do with the NT time epic, whatever. If you've ever used Win32 time.
Oh yeah, that's
that,
NFF.
or what is it? Is it?
Before we get too far down the weeds,
W32TM.
Yeah, that's what it is.
before we get too far down the weeds, now we've got. Let's take this as read. There's still something they have to do in inventory.
Yes.
And a particular version of inventory.
Yep.
So
I say we move right over there.
absolutely.
All right.
Pass it off to you.
All right. Okay. So, do we want to show? We'll show group policy in a bit. Well, actually, we have to deploy all of this before we do inventory.
Let's do it.
All right. So,
But just so you know, this is just a really small download. Each one of these files is only about a megabyte in size, so don't worry about long installs. It's not an agent. Again, it's just the client-side extension for group policy. So there's nothing running. There's nothing going on. It's just being able to give the computer the ability to communicate back with Active Directory. So.
we need the Rick and Morty's.
Oh, we have those.
Yep.
So. But while we're getting this set up, we have a lot of Rick and Morty's. I guess they're actually going to be in here.
Obviously, you have to have this set up on all the machines before you can scan them with the inventory or something. Is that what you guys are saying?
If you're going to use the Laps, yes, you do.
Okay, so at this point, we are setting up our labs so you guys can show us Laps and inventory, yeah?
Yes.
Noob.
There we go. CrockyBot. So.
Simple rig.
We don't need to use that.
What we're going to do right now is we're getting Laps installed on all those machines, and what's going to happen is, as part of our package, it's going to install either the 32-bit or the 64-bit, and then it's going to kick off a GP update to say, hey, I'm new, I haven't had my password set yet, set my password, kick that off to Active Directory. At that point, now you have that local admin that has this wonderfully complex, wonderfully randomized password that you can then use in your normal day-to-day as a backup or whatever you're using it for. In this case, we actually have this wonderful feature upcoming in Inventory, the recent beta right now, check it out, that allows you to use those Laps credentials for your machines. So that is what we were attempting to.
Was that called a teaser there, Chris?
It is. We're getting to it right here. But before we get to that, we're going to show you group policy.
Yep. One is because we have to, obviously, if we're going to run a GP update, we have to update our policies.
Yep.
So, assuming that we did everything correctly, we're going to do this.
Yep. While he's diving for that, there's a few different group policies that you can set. One is to enable lapse or not. One is to define the local user count that you're going to manage. In this case, we're going to set it to lapse admin. We're going to, there's the ability to set the ability for the expiration date for the password. There's a lot of cool stuff here, but while he's doing that, I mean, do we have a question we can kind of go over?
Dear Brig and Chris, are there any issues with clients that aren't on a domain regularly? We have computers in the field that are only connected back to our network infrequently via VPN. So AD may show the old password after the timer runs out and not reveal to me the updated password. Sincerely, Michael U for University. They've got a great football team at Michael U, by the way.
Hello, Michael. I guess I don't know if you're called Mike. Oh, I got this question.
Okay, that's a good question.
While you're doing stuff here. It is a great question, in
Yeah.
fact. Because this is all run locally on the target machine, each of these machines that you're installing this client-side extension on, the great thing is, even if you're not connected to your Active Directory, even if you're having trust relationship issues, it's not going to kick back an updated password because it can't request it. You need to communicate with Active Directory to find out that you're there. Once you're there, and it knows you're there, and you're doing this group policy update, it's going to say, okay, I need to reset my password, and then it resets it and sends it back right then and there. So, talking about with getting machines that are infrequently on and off your network, it's not a problem because they're not going to update until they get back on your network. In which case, when they do, you'll have that updated password that you can view from PowerShell, from the UI that's included with the MSI, or straight up from Active Directory if you open up the computer object itself as one of the attributes. So, great question, but they actually took that into consideration when developing this. So, right? That makes sense?
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
So, okay.
So the beauty of live television is, or live video, is that sometimes things don't work right.
Yay.
Yay! But that's okay because we can actually show this. So
Policy. Hooray. So this is the fun
What you're
stuff.
saying, Brig, is things didn't work right in the background there.
things did not work out right.
So now we're going to show you how to troubleshoot when things don't work right.
Well, we can actually troubleshoot GPOs for a while, but yes. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to show. So once you've installed through the MSI, you can just do what it does is it installs the ADMX files. With that, it's just the bottom. It's the last option on that.
Yep.
You will see this in administrative tools, and this is the beauty of how this works. So this first one here does password settings.
Yep.
So you can change once you enable this. You can change your lengths to whatever you would like, 25, 40, doesn't really matter. And then the password age, and again, referencing that back, once that password age hits that, but it will not update until the last, or until the next GP update.
Correct.
So, which usually happens once an hour. All right, next setting, and this is the name of the administration password, so we're going to do lapse admin.
And note, while he's typing this, if you do not set this setting, it will use the built-in administrator account for each machine.
Okay, next after that. And this one is the password registration time longer than the required. So basically, if you're an admin, you can set that time for longer. This prevents that from doing that.
So that Joe McShady admin sets the expiration policy to 2030. Don't do that.
Yep.
So,
all right.
So
And then this last one, local admin password management.
I think we got a question.
Yep.
Dear Brig and Chris, I saw that users can request a reset through Lapse. Does it allow them to change it themselves if desired? Thanks in advance, John D.
Only
question.
if you've explicitly allowed that.
Bingo.
Yep.
And so they can request it if they have the permissions to, based off that PowerShell command that we ran to give them the rights to do that. If they have the rights for that machine and that OU to request that, yes, they can. But if they don't have the tools to do that, even if they have the rights, they're going to have a difficult time doing it because they're either going to need the PowerShell module to do it, or they're going to need the actual client itself to do it, or they're going to need access to Active Directory to go request it. So,
Yep.
But if they don't have those or the rights, no, they cannot.
All right, we've deployed, successful.
Yay.
Inventory, here we go.
Here's the fun part. We've been building up to this for the entire
Yes.
webcast.
All right. So, like I said, we've got that. We've got that help document out there that basically does all of this. We're going to do credentials. This is where you add the lapse password.
This is deploy.
Oh, this is deploy.
Yay.
Yay! Deploy. It's the one with the orange. I want the blue.
Inventory 14 beta 1, guys.
Yes. Credentials.
Yep.
And as you can see, we've already added some Laps accounts, but we can go ahead and we'll just add Laps again.
Yay.
Okay, so this is the Laps user. So we know what that is. That's Laps admin.
Yep.
We've already set that. We're going to set it for this domain. The username, this is a domain user. So this is a domain user, not only just a domain user, but also a domain user that has read access to the password.
Bingo. This is important.
Yep.
This kind of goes hand in hand with your last question, John. If this user, or if any of your users have the ability to read or reset that password, they would be able to be set up here.
Yeah, I got a question. Remote users, UAC, Laps.
It already exists.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you for saying not a problem.
Oh, okay.
Why is it not a problem?
So because it's all done locally, so even if you have restricted firewall setup, it's all done locally on that machine, and then it spits out to the Active Directory. It's not Active Directory forcing it down on those clients. And so usually with most firewall setups, granted, this is going to be case by case, but most setups, firewalls are very prohibited for incoming traffic, but not outgoing traffic. And so because it's all happening locally on that machine and then sending it outwards, not a problem.
I think the question that he might be asking, Chris, is when accessing computers using a remote or a local account, accessing the admin dollar, a protected OS share,
okay.
A remote UAC needs to be disabled. There's that registry key.
Yes.
That's necessary. With Laps, is this required? I think, is that what you were asking, Lex?
Well, see, and ultimately streamlining this, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
I see where you're going with this. And yes, because it is a local account, you need to have that local token filter policy. Yep. That's the setting we're going for. That's what needs to be set. Yes, You're correct. And we have a wonderful KB that goes over that. Look it up. Look for our firewalls, rules and exceptions. I forget the title of it.
It's also an admin share. If you just look up admin share in the search for on
if you look up remote UAC, if you go to our support site and type in remote space UAC, you will find the document that tells you how to do this. But it is very important if you're going to use local accounts, of which Laps is considered, that you enable or that you disable remote UAC so that a local account can access the admin dollar share. Yep. Very important.
Cool.
Specific, especially when you're doing like cross-domain.
Okay, well, I'm in suspense here. We got to do this.
Okay, so this is already, we've already put it in, so. Yay. All right, now, unfortunately, because of the GPO little issue that we ran into earlier, we're going to actually have to use that one. But it's the same thing.
It is.
All right. So
we use Laps here also. So.
Yeah, so. All right, and I'm not going to set that as default because that's that. All right, so now that's it. That's as far as the setup goes. So it's very easy. Laps, admin, domain credentials, and that's it.
Did you want to showing that in inventory 14 there was that add Laps? You already had it created. Do you want to hurry and just show that?
The add Laps?
We just did.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That's because it's that easy.
It's really that easy. So be aware though, when you actually want to have those machines, change the scan user. We have it shown, but you can actually change the scan user to that newly created credential.
Yep.
Point to your Laps credential, and you're good. Now, when you run a scan on these guys, it works using that local Laps account.
Yep.
Now, the cool thing about this is all the stuff you can do in inventory is fantastic, but you can also do this with Deploy because Deploy has this wonderful feature while it's scanning. So we can say, let's deploy this to a machine. In fact, let's deploy it to those machines that we had highlighted. We'll actually do tools here. Go to PDQ Deploy. We're going to deploy just a dir package here.
See how cool that is.
It's fantastic. This option here, use PDQ Inventory scan user credentials first when available.
Yes.
This is going to say use that Laps user instead of this Web Quintana user. It'll fall back and use that Web Quintana user if the PDQ Inventory credentials fail. So if we deploy this.
Which means then that they're going to have Laps configured in PDQ Inventory. They're going to have to have PDQ Inventory and have that configured for Deploy to utilize Laps.
Yep. And kind of an important thing to these two domains, the domain that we're actually deploying to, are completely disjointed. Federated trust. They're on different VLANs. It is completely segmented. There is no knowledge other than some DNS fun stuff that we did. Yes. There's no knowledge of each other. So we actually successfully deployed to a disjointed domain completely using the Laps credentials from that domain.
Greg, just like Chris loves corgis, just the fact that you use the term DNS fun stuff gives us a glimpse into your life. Some might call it pathetic. I call it awesome.
Okay, good.
But DNS fun stuff. That's the quote of the day for everybody who's listening.
DNS fun stuff, yes.
So I just an ad here with DNS fun stuff. I
Yes.
love it. So if you're on the fence about this, about local admin rights and that, this is the direction Microsoft's going.
Yeah.
Yes.
You should be doing this. This is something that you should definitely be doing. It is, you can't get past the hash. It's so good. Yeah.
It really is. This is the way you need to do this.
Yep.
It's managed locally. It's rotating. It's all the fancy stuff. Just try it out. It's easy to set up, easy to manage, and it ties in with our products wonderfully. So check out the beta.
Yes, definitely.
Thanks for watching. I'm Chris.
Thanks. And I'm Brig.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining the webcast today. We would like to congratulate Mary M. and Michael U., winners of PDQ Swag. Also, Craig S., winner of our PDQ Vintage Floppy Coaster. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com, and we'll get those out to you as soon as we can. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.